talking to Claude about your business is actually pretty dangerous. I do it a lot, and I've done it enough now to see that you think about AI's job, like its job is to give you an answer and be decisive. But the job of a coach is to ask you questions and help you think through a problem. You don't need a coach to tell you how to do a thing anymore. And that's where I would guess courses are just getting decimated. Hey guys, today I'm joined by Colin Gray. Colin, how's it going?
Good, thanks, Craig. Yeah, excited to be here. How are you getting on today?
Yeah, good. I started running again. I know you're a big runner. I started running again and signed up for the half marathon here in Newport in October. So we're 12 weeks out today. So things are getting real, including the aches and pains of my 46-year-old body. But it's good.
12 weeks is almost the kind of standard training plan, isn't it? So you've got that's good. That's plenty of time to get fast. Have you got a goal? Do you get competitive about these things?
I do. I'm ultra competitive with this kind of stuff. So I've done a lot of this in the past. I was the kind of fat kid in high school. In college, I got a little more fit. And then after college, I started doing triathlon, ultra marathons, all this kind of stuff. I've run and done a ton of cardio stuff. I would love to break 2 hours. I'm pretty out of shape, running shape right now. So if I could break 2 hours, that would be pretty cool. I've done it twice, I think, before, but when I was 35, not 45. So I think actually it was before kids. Is the
a
last
mere
time
decade
I ran a half,
ago.
So my son turned 14 today. So 16 or 17 years ago.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah.
How about you? You run a lot, right?
I do, yeah. I'm mostly hills though. So do you know what? I started running in the hills primarily because I get too competitive about the time. I worry too much about pace and it puts me off. I actually just kind of stresses me out and stops me going out because I always feel I have to go hard or nothing and therefore I generally hate it. So I started running in the hills because pace doesn't matter. It doesn't, because it's completely pointless when it comes to ups and downs and I love it now, actually. Yeah, I just get out and I just try and explore, just try and go somewhere new, at least every 2 or 3 runs and see something brand new. So that's how I do it these days. But I'm keen on doing a couple of events sometime soon, actually. It'd be good to get back and do a couple of hill running events. So I could update that when I book one.
Yeah, cool. So, so you and I are going to be podcast buddies here for a while. I think we're given the old dating try here on you being kind of regular co-host of the show, and you've been on the show a few times, and you and I have known each other for a long time. I guess for folks who don't know you, what's the story and kind of what have you been up to lately?
Yeah, the super short story, I guess, is I did astrophysics at uni, hated it, too much maths. Sounds interesting, space and all that, but you just have to add up too many things. Quit that, did web design and animation and video and things like that, multimedia and interactive systems it was called. Really enjoyed that and ended up doing that freelance for a while, just making websites for people. Ended up teaching that at university. So I taught lecturers how to use that kind of tech to teach students. And during that time, I found podcasting. So that's kind of how we know each other because I ended up in the podcasting world as well. I started a website called The Podcast Host back in 2010, basically teaching people how to podcast. That evolved into doing production work for people, doing education, doing coaching, YouTube channel, podcast, the blog, all of the rest. And then in around 2017, 2018, we started developing a software product around it too, because just too many people were asking me how to make editing easier. And I was like, well, maybe I can try and actually make it easier. So we built Alitu, which was initially a podcast editing app. It evolved into an all-in-one, and it was podcast editing, call recording, transcriptions, hosting as well. So that's what I ran for the last 10 years, since 2015, really. It was kind of a proper business since then. And sold it at the start of this year. So we got acquired by a company over in the US. They took it over and they're now running that whole company, the content and the software company. So I'm out and try to figure out the next thing now. But that's my kind of, I suppose my background is really content strategy, audience building, morphed into software products and product design and all that kind of stuff, and kind of a whole thing around digital marketing and digital growth, online business as a kind of overriding thread, I guess.
Well, congratulations on the exit. I know, like, you and I have chatted several times over the past few months, and after that was all done, I know probably hugely stressful, but very rewarding in the end.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, I'm still kind of processing it, to be honest. I can't quite believe how stressful it was, like how much of a job it was. I mean, I know you kind of expect it wouldn't be an easy thing to go through, but yeah, happy to dig into that in a future episode if you wanted to, Craig. But it is,
Yeah,
yeah, so much in that, yeah, for sure. But yeah, maybe
yeah,
for a future
yeah,
one.
for sure. Yeah, it's like a whole topic probably. I know you have a few things that you wanted to chat about. You wanna go first?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this because we always have great conversations. It's one of those classic, I wish we'd recorded that and put it out as a podcast episode whenever we chat anyway. And I've always enjoyed Rogue Startups as well. I've always listened along even while we knew each other. So, yeah, so there's a bunch of stuff I'd love to dig into with you over the next, I think we're saying like 6 to 8 weeks to test out. We'll see how we go. But yeah, one that you brought up, let's get into the coaching side of things. Like we've both done a fair bit of coaching over the last 5, 10 years, longer even, I think. You do quite a lot now with a few different organizations, don't you, as well as kind of personal coaching. And I've done everything from group coaching to community coaching to individual stuff too. You mentioned just before we got on the call around the kind of the current tension, isn't it, whereby a lot of
Mm.
people are using AI for self-coaching and the competition that brings to our coaching practice. But equally, I've been looking a lot at how to use AI more as an assistant to my coaching, how to use it to make me even better at that. So I'd love to dig into that a bit, like the state of coaching in business just now, because I suppose anyone out there listening, either they'll do a bit of coaching or they'll be getting coaching, eh? So it's kind of a topic from both sides. So yeah, does that sound a good starting point?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one thing that definitely has happened is, and it affects our marketing for our businesses, is the how to is kind of gone, right?
Yeah,
Like you
yeah,
don't need a coach to tell you how to do a thing anymore. And that's where I would guess like courses are just getting decimated. And I see a lot of those folks moving to communities instead, because that's kind of the value or the thing that people want now. And when it comes to coaching, I think it's the same. So it's not how do I run a business or how do I run Facebook ads or how do I use AI? It's can I help me think through this thing that I'm doing, and more like at a strategy level is how I see like my value. And yeah, sure enough, like I coach kind of two different groups. One is I have like a handful of private clients, and we do one-on-one coaching every other week for an hour. That's great, super fulfilling for me, and I think helpful for them, because like especially they are all solo founders.
mhm.
And so you and I both are, or you were.
Yes.
uh, it sucks. It's hard.
Oh
It's
yeah.
it's it's lonely. And so I think that like the value I bring is just like almost being that co-founder relationship for these folks, and they don't have to give up equity. Actually, in one of the situations, I work for straight equity and not cash, and
Yeah,
that that's
yeah.
that's pretty interesting. So got like a small share of the company working for free, and the company's doing really well, which is cool. Talking to Claude about your business is actually pretty dangerous. I think I do it a lot, and I've done it enough now to see that like you think about AI's job, like its job is to like give you an answer and be decisive. But the job of a coach is to ask you questions and help you think through a problem. And so yeah, I just don't think that it's that helpful, maybe the way I'm using it. And I haven't done the thing you're doing. I'd love to hear how you're doing it, where like I don't like feed transcripts back into Claude to how, to help me improve how I can be a better coach.
Yeah,
I should,
yeah.
but I just haven't done that.
I do. I'll be honest. I use it a lot for talking about my business and talking through ideas. I coach it up. Funnily enough, I create projects for just about everything. So I'll be in Claude and I'll create a project for it, and I'll fill in a bunch of context, and I'll put in that context like this is a space for using you as a thinking partner, like this saying this to Claude. So You are here. Your goal is to act as a coach. I always say that, like, so that it always gets the impression that it should be, coaching me through. It should be asking questions. It shouldn't just be giving me straight up answers. But I do put in that I'm happy to take suggestions for answers as well. Like, I think this is a whole separate interesting topic we could jump into too, which is there's a whole range of different types of coaches, isn't there? There's coaches who are pure coaches who never really answer anything. It's always just questioning and guiding and helping you find your own path through. And on the other end, it's maybe more of maybe you would call it a mentor more, who actually do more just tell you what they would do. Here's a problem, here's what I would do with it. And then they'll do a bit of coaching, but actually it's a lot more telling you what to do. I find I prefer a mentor. I'm quite good at thinking through questions myself. I've found it always quite frustrating. This is maybe a personal thing, and I maybe don't use the right type of coaches, but I always find it quite frustrating working with coaches who are purely just questioners and refuse almost to give you their opinion and their answers and their experience. So my coaching approach is always a midway. I will always ask the questions. I will help kind of refine answers. I will ask what people think, but I'll also give my experience and I'll give my ideas. And I treat it more as a conversation than just pure coaching. How does that reflect with you, or how do you go about it?
Yeah, that's exactly. If it's a percentage or a spectrum, I'm probably 75% coach and 25% prescriptive. I think, and I would be curious to hear your perspective. I think it's because the people I coach are just like me, basically.
Yeah.
And so I have direct experience in the thing they're doing. I think if so one of my coaching clients, they're doing like 20 million a year. And I can't relate to them as much, they're hiring VPs of sales and talking to private equity and all this kind of stuff. And in that, I'm tactical when I can and need to be, but less probably than talking to the guy doing 50 grand a month.
Yeah, where you can actually just say, well, this is what I tried last week. This might apply directly to you.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What kind of coaching are you doing right now?
It's mostly creators. So most recently, I was doing a fair bit of coaching in our community. So when I was still running the podcast host, we had a community whereby it was all podcasters and helping them grow their shows, helping them, content strategy, audience definement, all that kind of stuff, monetization. That was always quite good fun because it was kind of little and often. You just get a quick question and you'd write a quick answer and you can kind of see the progress as you go. About start of this year, though, I put out a call for a wider group. I said in our newsletter, like, I've got a few spaces for coaching just now. I'd quite like to actually start working with people who are trying to grow a wider creator business. And the classifier was doing similar to what I did and what you've done, Craig, which is like actually grow something which isn't just based around one piece of media. So it's not just like growing a podcast and getting sponsorship around it, but it's growing a business around that. So you're trying in newsletters, you're trying in brand deals, you're growing a team around it, you're creating workflows to create all of the different media. It's a media company as opposed to just a media property, I guess. And I got some really interesting people for that. So right now, I've got a few people who are all running creator businesses and really just trying to figure out that kind of web of how does the podcast contribute to the newsletter? Then the newsletter leads to this product that I'm developing, whether it's a software or an info product or a community. And it's that kind of whole web. That's the stuff I love doing, actually. It's been really interesting doing that. So it's that type of person.
I saw a thing from Andrew Lieberman. Andrew? He was like Morning Brew, one of the guys at Morning Brew, and is now doing 10X, like this AI consulting company. Saw a thing from him the other day, and he said 75% of their deals come through his content, his and his team's content.
Really? Yeah.
On socials. I want to get your perspective on this because I think a lot of us, you and I, come from the SEO, and I know like our businesses are about podcasting, but I would say like very little of my business value and customers comes from podcasting. Most of it, came from SEO, which is like whatever, very different now.
Yeah.
As you look at like, we'll call it a media brand, because to me, like a media brand is like the formalized, like professional version of being a creator. Do you think that's a viable strategy for most businesses and most things people are selling?
I remember there was a whole meme around this, wasn't there? Maybe 4, 5, 6 years ago, where there were people shouting to the rooftops, like every company is a media company, really now.
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
I think Red Bull were the first kind of big one, weren't they? They were like they suddenly became a media, they were a drinks brand, and then suddenly they became a media company. But that obviously sells way more drinks. Although I think they probably make just as much money out of their media now as I'm not sure. Never looked at their statements, but I could imagine. But yeah, I think so. Is that what you're talking about? Like, doesn't matter what you're selling, whether it's a physical product, a digital product, a service, whatever it is, you can be a media company behind that.
Yeah, I guess I think the skeptical thing that I would hear a lot of times is I'm selling B2B SaaS. Me being spouting out on on LinkedIn or having a podcast or having a YouTube channel is not an effective or proper way to acquire customers. We need to do traditional B2B things like going to conferences and sending cold email. Do you think that's true?
No, no, no.
Yeah.
I have. Well, tell me what you think, but I don't think I ever came across in my whole 10 years of running our podcast company a company that I couldn't think of a good way to use a podcast. There's certainly gradations of it. Some it's more valuable for than others, but I think there's almost always a way that a company could use media in some way, whether it's a blog, whether it's a video, whether it's a podcast, some kind of social media to use it. Like right down to the ones that completely doubted it when I first started talking to them, like a B2B employment legal firm, you know, employment law legal firm. That's actually a client we ended up working with. Like
Yeah.
they
We
do
have one
they
of
do
those. Yeah.
employment law. Yeah, totally. So did you find any company that you just literally couldn't find a use for content?
Well, I will say the best, by far the best. I actually have a buddy here in town who does like coaching and consulting. I
Mhm.
think they're the best. That it's the best use case for
Oh
podcasting
yeah,
in
yeah,
particular.
yeah. It's the personal
Or
brand
like,
thing, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and that's an interesting thing because I think that I'll say the reason I think that works well is people are buying that person. They're not buying that person's company. They're buying, I want to talk to Jonathan. I want to work with Jonathan. And so him having content online from himself about the topic, he's talking directly to the buyer. You used a term, which I actually think is like the villain here,
Mhm.
which is a personal brand. I think
Okay.
I hope that's not what I'm talking about. Cause like what I don't want to do is be, I'm 46. Like I don't want to be shaking my ass like to get views. I want, like
But it's such a good
I
ask,
want,
Craig. Come on.
well, yeah, like I want like the way I think about it. And this might be a helpful mindset shift for folks who kind of struggle with this is we're not talking about a personal brand. We're talking about a channel to publish content to our ideal customers. And like a blog used to be that. But I kind of think now that's also like a YouTube channel and that's Instagram and that's a podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's been a healthy mindset shift to me because like what I don't want to do is I don't want to be the business. If I'm like amplifying the business by creating content, that's cool. But like I can't be the whole thing because that's daunting to me.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. That's what I did with my company for sure. Yeah, I kind of started out being the personal brand, or it used to be a personal brand of me. I was the podcast host. It was like Colin Gray, the podcast host. But I shifted away from that entirely because I wanted to be able to sell it in future, and
Yeah.
that was beneficial over time. But the downside of that certainly was the fact that I think, in my opinion, there's no denying that a personal brand tends to be more engaging than a business brand. So an individual person, like you talked about it before, they're coaching, like as a coach, a teacher, a mentor, they're buying you. They're buying they need trust in your specific, experience, ethos, approach, culture, personality, all of those things. And that's all part of your personal brand. That's the trouble. Like I think it's much more easy to get people to buy into a personal brand than a company brand in that way because you're just putting out yourself. It goes back to very overused, like be authentic stuff. A personal brand is just you. A good personal brand is you being yourself and being that authentic, whatever the hell that means these days. But, it's just you being normal and people actually seeing a bit of yourself in there. And people buy and trust that. And that's the power of podcasting, isn't it, Craig? Like the fact that people listen to 60 minutes of you chatting away and you can't help but expose yourself, like your actual true self, when you're speaking for that long. And so I think it's easier to build a personal brand and get people to trust it than a business one. But you're absolutely right. There's big disadvantages in terms of it's then just you.
Yeah.
And you have to find a way to extricate yourself from it, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you see coaching? I'm going to say the value of it, but kind of like where it fits in the current business owner's mental space right now. Like I feel like AI is consuming so much of all of our mental space. Where do you feel like coaching fits in to that relative to other stuff that we all are worrying about?
Certainly the way I'm looking at it personally, and I think the people that I work with and people I talk to, it is going away, as you said earlier, like the how-to is kind of disappearing. Like we don't need to tell people how to do this, how to do that. It's a big part of it is that thinking partner side of things. But a bigger part potentially is actually just the accountability. I think it always has been, hasn't it, with coaching? It's just actually, it's like personal trainer. You don't need somebody to tell you to do 3 reps of bicep curls at the gym, whatever it might be. But you need somebody to make sure you turn up and actually do the thing you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge part of it. I think that's why like group cohort programs, challenges, things like that are all becoming so much more prevalent now too, because a lot of it's just about the outcome, isn't it? Like actually you can find out how to do something. You can even use Claude or ChatGPT as a thinking partner and figure out what you want to do, how you want to do it. But it's actually making you do the damn thing. I don't know. Are you finding that with yours?
I guess within coaching, there's a pretty clear divide to me between like one-on-one coaching, which is super valuable. Like I think to my clients, super valuable, and to the tiny seed folks where I serve as advisor in residence. I do a bit of group stuff, but I'm definitely available one-on-one. Chatted with 2 or 3 founders yesterday, and yeah, I mean they come in with how they're thinking. We talk, and at the end, almost entirely they have like, I feel really good about the direction we're going. And I think like I've been a part of a lot of group coaching. I think that's a lot harder to get out of group coaching.
As an individual, you mean? So like for one person as in that group to really feel confident they've been heard and confirmed on.
Yeah. I think from a business model perspective, probably group coaching or community, cohort style is probably one of the best business models out there because it solves the scalability of like one-on-one coaching. And so probably to me, like the answer is a bit of both. Like I would love to have a handful or a dozen individuals that I coach and then a group program to kind of supplement that.
Does that come down to trusting a person to give you it's feedback? Is that what it is? Is that what you're talking about? It's been able to turn up to a session, have half an hour with somebody who knows what they're talking about, has perhaps done a lot of what you're trying to do, been able to outline your plans, and just for them to either say yes or no, and hopefully maybe even give you a couple of suggestions to refine or improve, or even just ask some questions that help you refine or improve it. Is that what it's about?
Hopefully the last part that you mentioned. To me, probably my best coaching client right now said like, I interviewed a bunch of people and you were the only one who asked me a bunch of questions about myself and my business and what I want to do. Yeah. And that's like, okay, that's terrifying for everyone else. But to me, that should be how it is. Like I've had a lot of individual coaching. And the reason I like it is I want to be selfish. And like, this is the only time I can just talk about myself and somebody is hopefully fully committed to hearing and understanding me.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think we as founders and like just don't give ourselves that.
Yeah. And especially
we give that to our employees, right? But nobody's doing that to us.
And especially, as you said earlier, solo founders, because there's just no one else in your company who you can tell the total unvarnished truth to. So paying somebody who is at that kind of level, that kind of knowledge experience level, is so valuable in that sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally agree with that.
Yeah.
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 Are you using it? So I don't know. You said you maybe weren't using AI very much to kind of improve your coaching practice there. Are you doing anything with it just now to help with your even the service, like even stuff like note taking and being able to send summaries and stuff like that? What are you using AI for anything around delivering that coaching service just now?
I don't, but I should. Yeah. I record some calls, but often I don't. Some of my clients record their own, but yeah, I don't. Like, what? I'd love to hear what you're doing.
I use Granola to record my calls, so I get a transcript of that, and I built a system that took in those transcripts and builds a database for every client that I work with. And I use that to generate the summaries. So it's the equivalent of just using the Granola summaries or Fathom or whatever you do. Like most of these services will give you a summary of your meeting. That's totally standard. But the thing I wanted to build into it, which I'm finding really useful actually, is memory. So knowing what the previous meeting was talking about and the previous one and the previous one. So my system now pulls out trends quite nicely, like really effectively actually. So we'll have, here's what we talked about in this session, here's the actions for you. That's standard stuff. But then at the bottom, it'll say, here's a few things that I'm noticing right now. We've come up against this barrier 3 or 4 times in the last 6 months. So this is a repeating thing. And I try and do that as a coach, obviously, and I do that in sessions, but there's inevitably plenty of that kind of stuff I forget about. I forget she mentioned this thing or that thing back then, or he mentioned this thing or that thing back then. And I kind of, some stuff I don't tie together either. And so I'm finding it really useful to have this prompt for, here's something to maybe be aware of because, it's come up again and again. Here's 2 variations of the same thing. And that's been really useful to me in one sense. So that's one side of it. The other side that I built in more for me personally, but I find it is actually helping with my coaching too, is I've got another system which then reads those transcripts and actually analyzes my side of it. So like I said, I don't pretend to be a pure full coach. I do give my own experience. I do a bit of teaching in there as well. And I talk to my clients around that, like how much they want and make sure it's all balanced towards them. But it reads out the stuff that I give, like my opinions, my thoughts, the way I think about business, the way I think about marketing, all of those things. And it actually assembles all that into ideas and concepts. And one that helps me write, it suggests content. So I write newsletters, I write LinkedIn posts, I write all sorts of stuff and podcast episodes based on those insights, things that I maybe wouldn't have even remembered that I said afterwards. So I'm finding it's a really good content workflow kind of instigator. But the other side that I think is actually helping my coaching is it's making me realize where my more unique points of view are, where my, it's kind of silly to say this, but it's kind of almost hard to tell where your controversial opinions are or your, the things where you're a little bit different from others, the things where you're unique. And it's helping me pull those out. It's helping me refine those. It's helping me make them more coherent as well. So things that I kind of are vaguely thinking about, I maybe say once or twice in a couple of coaching sessions, it brings those up and I can kind of write about it, think about it, and actually turn it into something that's a bit more useful, maybe a framework even, something like that. But I'm finding that actually really useful to just have a log and a process around bringing out these insights and trying to turn them into something more actionable, useful, refined. Yeah.
I use Granola as well. I like it because it's like transparent. It's not another bot that joins a meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you I know there was a thing about it previously where it's like they were like walling off. Like, does it have an MCP or are you doing this manually or what?
No, it's got an API. So you can pull out the transcripts. You can only do it you can only pull the full transcript with a paid account. So I had to upgrade from the free account to the paid, but that's fine because it's actually really useful. But you can pull it out automatically that way.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice.
My process after I get off a call is I just load up Claude Code. I load up that project, client assist or something like that, I call it, and I just say, just pull the latest transcript from X name and give me my summary, please. And then once it's done that, I say
skill or whatever.
Yeah. And then once I finish that, I say, right, do chat mine now, which is a skill I've created to mine a chat for like insights and nuggets and stuff like that. And so that just all runs. Yeah.
I think at a high level, like that's kind of like the best kind of use case for AI right now. Like I think that I think like one of the things, like I was just recording like a relaunch episode, which at this point will be 2 episodes ago. Uh, because like the podcast has taken a pretty big break. I was talking about in that, like I've done some consulting for companies around AI, and one of them is like a $2 billion company helping their marketing group. And they're moving from like version 1, which is like we have like ChatGPT, and we just like ping pong back and forth, to like we have GPTs maybe, which are like a little better. To we're moving them to like, I'll call it agents, but like a thing with skills. I mean, the reason I've kind of gotten off of the like AI news product hype cycle bandwagon is I kind of think like for now, like that's the local maximum.
Yeah.
I just like, I don't think we've seen a product in the past few months that has taken us significantly past what you're talking about. Or you could put it into Hermes and it happens automatically and it runs every day. Or you could do the same with Claude Code and put it on a schedule or whatever. But like using AI to amplify the work you could do by yourself and have it happen automatically, so you open up more of your mental space to other more valuable stuff, is kind of like the high level plan, like from my perspective. And it's interesting, man. Like I'd love to be wrong. I don't see that for knowledge work, it has progressed much past that in the past few months.
There's definitely been a tip off the kind of constant growth and constant expansion side of things, hasn't there? Like in terms of, it feels almost like starting to consolidate into, right, what's this actually useful for? It's all the kind of pushback on the cost of tokens and all that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting. But I mean, I think you work with more coaching clients than I do, and especially across the tiny seed cohort as well. You've got a bunch of obviously early stage-ish aspiring people there who've just taken funding. Like, what is the feeling, the insight, the stage that they're all at in terms of using it and building it into everything, or whether it's building it into the product or whether it's using it to actually just build business?
Yeah, so building it into the product, like all of the tiny seed companies recently are AI SaaS. We
Really?
need a better
Okay.
term for it probably, but they're not a company like you and I built, where like there's some AI aspect to it, but like everything is AI native. So AI native RFP winning platform. Like this platform like just finds RFPs, generates proposals and submits them for you, like that kind of stuff, or analyzes a bunch of financial data. So like they're all AI native from a product perspective. A lot, and I guess this is where like I feel like things are cooling off a little. A lot of what people still talk about are around development and product. And it's getting pretty crazy. Like these kind of autonomous loops are amazing, man. Like I hear, like it just watches Sentry, it creates an issue, it sees shit that we're talking about in Slack, it creates an issue, it does this thing, it goes and codecs and PRs and auto checks them and just deploys it. I guess like the way I see all that is cool, but like that's not the problem anymore. Like that's it's never been the limitation probably, and even more so now as that gets easier and easier and easier. The problem or the opportunity is like freaking marketing. Like, so I look at all that and just say like, I just don't. I hate to say I don't think that's valuable. I don't think that's as valuable as if all those folks were to put all of that time and mental energy into marketing.
Well, I'd love to dig into that next episode, because that's, absolutely. That's kind of the core of what I'm thinking about just now, is how to build a marketing machine workflow. That is, I'm not planning to automate everything by any means, but I'm building a whole bunch of systems that give me superpowers and a lot of the stuff we used to do. So yeah, that's
likewise.
A good one for next time.
Yeah, sounds good, and a good tease for the next episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool. So folks, we'll be back next week. Colin, it's good to catch up, and I guess if folks have comments or want to chat about this, the best place is for you, Colin.
It's probably LinkedIn, actually. Yeah, so LinkedIn's about the only social media I've ever done and much work on. So yeah, just find me, Colin Gray. If you type Colin Gray podcast, it usually shows up.
Cool. Sounds good. For me, you can find me there. I hang out on Twitter a little more. I'm the Craig Hewitt there. But yeah, Colin, good to catch up. Thank you.
Yeah, you too, Craig. Cheers.